Have you ever wondered why or noticed that there is a large gap in available school resources depending on students' school location? All across the United States, the lack of or abundance of resources a school has, according to their location, is apparent. Schools in a high-income neighborhood have the latest technology, are clean inside and out, and maintained. Meanwhile, schools from low-income neighborhoods are the opposite. Schools located in low-income neighborhoods are usually run down and have old textbooks and desks. When we take a look at some of the statistics of children in America's public schools from the 4th and 8th grades in 2015, we see that more than 75% of lower-income students, 80% of Black children, and more than 73% of Latino children are unable to read or compute at grade level. The number of undereducated students is too high and demonstrate the apparent education inequality between low-income students and/or minorities. Low-income communities and minority communities have schools that lack the resources schools in high-end communities have. Schools should have the same resources in order to ensure equal opportunity for success of all students. The first thing I will talk about is how inequality in education is a safety and self-esteem need. My second point will be about how education inequality is dealt with in other states and how California is dealing with the issue. Lastly, my final point will be on how Los Angeles is planning on resolving part of the issue and my take on how to go about improving the achievement gap. Inequality in education is a safety and self-esteem need. A safety need because students in low-income communities need to feel as safe in their school as students in high-income communities do. And self-esteem because students should feel like they have the opportunity and potential to succeed regardless of the school they're attending. In California, the Gonzales Unified School District receives $12,341 total revenue per student. 98% of the students are non-white, and the median household income rate is $52,656. On the other hand, the neighboring school district, Carmel Unified School District, receives about twice as much total revenue per student, roughly about $24,183. 38% of the district is non-white, and the median household income is $90,492. These statistics are provided in the article where the kids across town grow up with very different schools. Paul Behan, a communicator from the Carmel School District, wrote to NPR and claimed funding for K-12 education in California is complex and inadequate, with increases in overall funding consistently outstripped by increases in mandated costs. If members from their own district can observe the differences in funding between two very close school districts, so are the students. Ultimately, students are the ones who are affected most because they're the ones attending those schools and feeling like they are of less importance or value, causing a decline in their self-esteem. Furthermore, Preston Ganaway, a photographer, went out to these California school districts in order to capture landscape photos of each district. When put side by side, the differences between schools, neighborhoods, and cleanliness are clear. So, in the past, the court has ruled against providing equal resources to a district that neighbors a very wealthy school district. For example, in the case of San Antonio Independent School District versus Rodriguez. A father of a student pleaded that his son's district should receive the same resources as the neighboring wealthy district. However, the court denied him by declaring that the U.S. Constitution does not declare equal school funding because the Constitution, believe it or not, does not guarantee the right to a public education at all. Meanwhile, California is working on a new law for federal education named Every Student Succeeds Act. Proposals being suggested in California include encouraging states to adopt fair public school finance system, increasing federal funding to supplement state funding with a goal to provide meaningful education opportunity on an unbiased basis. One of the main organizations advocating for this issue is the U.S. Civil Rights Commission Group. Out of the 16 states that have submitted ESSA plans for approval by the U.S. Education Department, majority of these states did a pretty good job inventing ways to evaluate schools, according to the study by Bellwether Education Partners and Collaborative for Student Success. The first two proposals would rely heavily on Title I funds. Since Title I is one of the strongest levers the federal government has to pressure states into spending more of their own money, ESSA requires that districts publicly report what they spend per student at the school level and not just at district level, as what has been done in the past. Marguerite Rosa, an expert in education finance and director of Georgetown University's Eudanomics Lab, claims, if we seize the unprecedented opportunity this data offers, we will be better equipped to tackle some of education's most pressuring issues, like the need for greater equity and productivity, and help schools across the country do better for their own students. State Superintendent Tony Evers of Wisconsin and Kristen Basler of North Dakota argue that their states are unprepared to meet ESSA's new requirements for English language learners. Meanwhile, Jeremy Anderson, a president of the Education Commission of the states, reveals that some of the people at a 2017 conference predicted that if the issue of teacher compensation, retention, and recruitment is left to the states, then districts will digress from the goal of putting an effective teacher in every classroom. There continues to be a nationwide effort of laws to decrease the educational gap. LAUSD demonstrates how they will do their part in helping solve the issue. In order to tackle the issue of education inequality, earlier this year, LAUSD declared to put in a 5-year plan resolution to assist in boosting the academic achievement of African American students by providing consistent funding and by providing a quarterly update to the superintendent and community. LAUSD has taken the step in reaching for this goal because they have finally realized it is long past due to end decades of achievement gaps for African American students, since they are one of the lowest performing student groups. Although LAUSD is finally taking some initiative in improving the achievement gap, it is unfortunate that it has took this long for a plan like this to be put in action. I believe that there will always be room for improvement in educational opportunity. However, it is up to the states and government funding to realize that this is a vast issue which needs more attention. In order to solve this issue, I would recommend adjusting the school's district budget. No district should be left behind and lacking enough funds because students are the ones who end up suffering the negative consequences of a failed government funding system towards their education. In addition, I think the students themselves should be more involved with finding a solution to the achievement and resources gap. If my solution is actually carried out, students would feel increased encouragement to succeed in school if they are provided with all the necessary resources. Students from different districts will not feel inferior to others if they can observe that they have the same chance in furthering their education. If my solution is not carried out, then this problem will continue to be an issue for future generations to come. Students will continue to feel like they are belittled due to their economical background and ethnicity, thus unable to feel a sense of social belonging. Across the United States, there continues to be an ongoing educational gap between school districts, which fails to fulfill a vast amount of students' needs, such as safety and social belonging. The government continues to attempt to improve the issue by introducing laws such as the Every Student Succeeds Act. However, to solve the issue, it will take a much more drastic solution. Students in low-income communities and minority students do not get the same equal resources nor education as students in high-income communities do. In order to diminish the educational gap, the issue needs the effort of students, federal government, state government, and school districts to all put in their 100% to solve the issue as soon as possible before any more students believe that they are incapable of reaching their goals due to lack of resources at their school and their ethnic background.